Take a look at the newest $13 billion aircraft carrier. Why does the United States spend so much money on aircraft carriers? What advantages do we gain from our strong presence on the high seas? Visit us as we investigate. And how would the deployment of the USS Gerald Ford supercarrier change the balance of power on the planet? Examine the newest member of the U.S. Navy's fleet and the fascinating world of aircraft carriers. What innovative techniques and abilities does this supercarrier offer? And how do other countries intend to compete with America's formidable naval might? Keep watching the video until the very end to find out more about all of this and more. The USS Gerald R. Ford made its first official deployment almost 20 years after the illustrious ceremonial first cut of steel and 10 years after the christening in Newport News. In order to embark on its second operational mission, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the newest supercarrier in the American Navy, departed from its home port in Virginia. The ship, which has experienced numerous technical issues and other issues since it was delivered 4 years ago, is making its first full-length voyage. Every departure of the selected service members seems to be accompanied by uncertainty, even though everyone is confident that the Ford, a technological marvel that is significantly more advanced in many ways than all the other well-known and successful vessels that came before it, will do an excellent job. Ford carries the region's hopes for a fantastic deployment and a swift and safe return. These vessels can launch nearly 270 air missions each day and serve as both floating cities and airports. They have a power infrastructure, living spaces, sanitary facilities, and food service, and they also house thousands of people. To construct something like this, a lot of time and expertise are required. The Ford is incredible in all regards. Size, at 1,106 feet long, it is both the world's largest warship and the largest operational aircraft carrier. The Ford is anticipated to last 90 years, so it will be 50 years before it needs to be refueled. Cost, the Ford has a $13.3 billion price tag. Future ships in the class are anticipated to cost around $12 billion each. The Nimitz-class ships' designs are very dissimilar from the Ford's. As a result of its island being 140 feet further back, there is more space for aircraft to take off in a straight line. The most significant change, however, is found inside the engine. Electromagnetic launch systems have successfully taken the place of the steam-powered systems used by the Nimitz-class ships thanks to the Ford design. This enables it to launch more planes faster. Its weapons and radar equipment are state-of-the-art. The ability of the nuclear plant to produce more energy than any carrier before it is well known. The Ford only requires a smaller crew because its flying deck is larger than that of its forebears. Hello there, soldier. Please click the subscribe button and join our exclusive military family in just one quick second. According to a report from Navy Times, the Ford will conduct routine operations in the waters near Europe at least initially. Last year, the carrier did make a brief operational deployment into the Atlantic, which included training with partners and allies in Europe. However, the Navy claimed that given the ship's numerous issues, this was more of a stress test of its overall capabilities. The USS George H.W. Nimitz-class carrier will be replaced by a Ford. On this first actual operational mission, Bush. After traveling through Europe and the Middle East for 8 months, that carrier arrived in Norfolk over the weekend. According to USNI News, Bush's deployment was prolonged as a result of March's deadly attacks on American troops in Syria. The Ford obtained all necessary licenses and fulfilled all conditions for operation. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, GRFCSG, successfully completed its Composite Training Unit exercise, COMSUEX, on April 3, according to the Navy. The most crucial component of a carrier strike group's training before their upcoming deployment is computexes. Under pressure, they test their defensive prowess. The staffs of Carrier Strike Group, CSG, 12, Carrier Air Wing, CVW, 8, and Destroyer Squadron, DESRON, 2 comprised the GRFCSG, according to the Navy at the time. The USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier of the Ford class, the USS Normandy, CG-60, a guided missile cruiser of the Ticonderoga class, and the USS Ramage, DDG-61, USS McFall, DDG-74, USS Thomas Hudner, DDG-116, guided missile destroyers of the Arleigh Burke class, are among the participating ships. CBW-8 squadrons include the Black Lions of Strike Fighter Squadron, VFA 213, the Tomcatters of VFA 31, the Raging Bulls of VFA 37, and the Golden Warriors of VFA 87, Electronic Attack Squadron, VQ 142, the Bear Aces of Airborne Command and Control Squadron, VAW 124, the Rawhides of Fleet Logistics Squadron. On this list are squadrons that are equipped with Seahawk helicopters, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, E-2 Hawkeye airborne early warning and control planes, and F divided by a -18E divided by F Super Hornet fighter jets. When switching from the C-2 Greyhound carrier onboard delivery (COD) aircraft to its replacement, the CMV-22B Osprey tilt rotor, that unit was to be renamed Fleet Logistics Multi-Mission Squadron 40, VRM-40, so it's unclear right away if the mention of VRC-40 is an error. According to today's Navy Times, the destroyers Ramage, McFall, and Thomas Hudner had already departed for this mission or were preparing to do so. The Normandy-class cruiser, though, was not mentioned. Typically, when carrier strike groups embark on missions, one or more attack submarines accompany them. What Ford's launch may mean right now is still unclear. Europe, which continues to experience its worst security crisis in years as a result of Russia's war in Ukraine, is where the ship is headed. Fights between the US and various groups in the Middle East have notably increased recently. The Navy Rear Admiral who oversees Carrier Strike Group 12, our presence at sea during the deployment will reassure our allies and partners that sea lanes will remain open, and our joint operations will show our commitment to interoperability and maritime stability, Greg Huffman said in a statement. Even though the ship was officially given to the Navy in 2019, it has battled for years to be fully operational, so it is also a significant step forward for the ship. Ford has experienced a lot of issues with its sophisticated electromagnetic airplane catapults, electronically tuned arresting gear, weapon elevators, radars, and other systems over the years. The catapults and the equipment for stopping the ship have experienced the most significant issues. This is due to the Navy's long-standing promotion of these systems as offering Ford and later ships in this class significantly higher sortie generation rates compared to their Nimitz-class forebears. Captain Metcalf reportedly told USNI News in April that this deployment was intended to give the service a chance to gather concrete operational data that would demonstrate whether or not these predictions were accurate. Of course, when it comes to managing operations and putting in the hard work required to safeguard national security, the team will make all the difference at sea. The area is fully aware of the threats that the rest of the world poses, such as China's threats against Taiwan and its global aspirations, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its territorial aspirations, North Korea's ongoing nuclear program and unpredictable behavior, and rogue governments and terrorist organizations that are still active in distant regions. It is crucial for the US to be able to use force against its adversaries while also being kind to those who are in need. The USS Ford is currently the most incredible tool in the arsenal. It is capable of displaying American air power whenever, wherever, and everywhere. Additionally, by simply being present in tense areas, it has the full potential to defuse the situation. Additionally, it can offer assistance and relief during emergencies. The families of the roughly 6,000 service members serving on the Ford and in the strike group are anxiously awaiting their speedy and safe return. Many eyes will be on Ford and its crew as they embark on this historic mission, which for the Navy couldn't come soon enough.